Right, let's go. What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Rob. Today we're going to understand how your body burns calories. And the reason we're speaking about this today is to help you prioritize what's truly important on your fat loss journey. It's only human nature for us to completely underestimate how many calories we consume on a daily basis and to overestimate how much we burn through exercise. And my goal from this video is to help you gain a deeper understanding of both. So, most people's approach when they start a fitness journey is to go hard on exercise. Focus 90% of their effort and the changes and their habits towards exercise and about 10% to diet. This usually translates to about 6 days running and maybe, I'll just eat a little bit healthier and, cut out bread and stop eating as many sweets. And the problem with this is, and we've discussed this in previous videos, when you think about fat loss as a whole and you making progress, it can be broken down into a cake analogy. And if you think about a cake, the base of the cake, the sponge of the cake, the big part at the bottom makes up the majority of the cake. That's your nutrition, that's your diet. Your exercise is the icing on the cake. And I understand the icing is the part everyone wants, it tastes the best, and it's the most fun to taste and fun to talk about, but it's the base that makes up the majority of your cake, aka your results. If we don't focus on creating a good foundation, we're not going to get great results going forward. And is there any wonder why people quit after a few weeks? Because their energy and focus is misplaced. And if you think, going back to that cake analogy that I absolutely love, if you make a fairly shitty base, it doesn't make for a good cake. Doesn't matter how nice your icing is. So, when we talk about energy expenditure, and that's just a fancy way of saying how our body burns calories, we have to look at your total daily energy expenditure, your TDEE. And if you're completely lost, what you might be better doing is click the link below and it'll bring you to my calorie calculator video, and all of this is explained. But your TDEE is your total daily energy expenditure, and that can be best broken down into this table here. Now, I don't want you to get caught up with the names and the words I'm going to use here. It's all very self-explanatory, but we're just going to have to reference the proper names to speak about this particular topic. So this is your total daily energy expenditure. So say, for example, your TDEE is 2,000 calories. We're going to start at the bottom, and this is how your energy, or how many calories you burn on each part, is divvied up. So, if you think about this as a 10-story building, about 6.5 to 7 floors of the building is taken up by your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And that's just a fancy way of saying how many calories you burn at rest. I like to call them coma calories. Or a less crude example would be if you woke up in the morning, your alarm went off, you turned off your alarm and just lay there and didn't do anything, didn't eat or drink. That's how many calories you would burn if you just didn't move from just being a human. So 65 to 70% of your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure, is burned through just being a human, just doing normal bodily functions. And that's not including movement at all, that's just lying perfectly still. The next step up, between 15% here, maybe between 15 to 20% possibly, is your NEAT, and that's just a fancy way of saying non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that translates to any movement you do that's not considered structured exercise. So walking to and from the car, pacing around the kitchen while you're on the phone, blinking, fidgeting, anything that's not structured exercise. Your steps in work. And what you'll find is that if you have a friend who's really on the go and really stressed all the time and always on the go, their NEAT is going to be higher than someone's a little bit more chilled. Another example is someone who works construction is going to burn more calories throughout the day. Their NEAT is going to be higher than someone who, say, is chained to a desk in an office. So this is all relative to the individual. Although your NEAT will be higher, for everyone, it's usually roughly 15% of their total calorie burn throughout the day. As we go up, we have EAT, which is exercise activity thermogenesis, which is a fancy way of saying the calories you burn through exercise. And it might surprise you to find out that only 10% of your total daily energy expenditure comes from exercise. And I can understand why people might think that's different, but this is what the science is saying. So no matter how fast you pedal on that spin bike, no matter what your Garmin or Fitbit says, 10% of your total daily energy expenditure comes from exercise. And I can understand why people might think it's more, but as a whole, that's all it's really ever going to be unless you're doing some sort of crazy training. So, talking about Fitbits and Garmins maybe in another episode, but just very briefly, though that technology has proven time and time again to be very inaccurate. I'm not going to put a number or percentage on it, but very, very inaccurate. And say your Garmin says that you've burned 500 calories during the spinning class and you've worked your absolute socks off, realistically you've probably burned between 150 to 200 calories. On that note, it's more beneficial for companies like Garmin and Fitbit to over-exaggerate calorie expenditure, because then your relationship with the watch is more positive and you're more likely to buy into that brand. But we're getting off topic. Let's jump straight back in to the next step on this TDE cycle here. The next one is TEF, thermic effect of feeding. Again, a fancy way of saying how many calories your body burns digesting food and breaking down food. If you go back to my calorie calculating episode, you'll notice that I spoke a lot about, not that episode, how much protein, carbs and fats you need to optimize fat loss. I've linked it below. You'll notice that I spent quite a while speaking about the importance of protein and understanding that protein is the most thermic of food out there, basically meaning your body breaks down more calories digesting protein and breaking it down than it does carbs and fats. But from a grand scheme of things, it really only takes 5% of your total daily burn. That's why most personal trainers who are worth their salt will encourage their clients to eat a high protein diet because of the thermic effect it has. Now I hope this table can shine some light on the fact that you do burn a lot of calories just being a human. The more you move, the more calories you will burn throughout the day. And also, exercise doesn't account for as much as most people think it does. Guys, the reason I took you through that was to show you that when it comes to calorie manipulation and fat loss, that manipulating your calories will always be easier when you focus on your diet. And because fat loss will always come down to calories in versus calories out, I would encourage you to forget about calories expended. Don't count them, because if you've calculated your TDEE correctly, as you can do if you haven't done already, click that link below, your exercise and movement are all included into that. And we shouldn't be looking at eating back calories because our steps and our exercises are included into that caloric number. So the numbers that we should be focusing on are our total caloric intake, our protein target, our steps, and then obviously if you're including exercise as well, whether it's your resistance training or running, that goes as your icing on the cake. But don't get it twisted. We can't really sweat ourselves skinny, because if we, as I said earlier on, if we put 90% of the focus on exercise and 10% on diet, not only is that very unsustainable, but our effort and our determination is misplaced. We need to flip that and put more focus on the nutrition, and then think about the exercise as that icing on the cake, even though it is the more fun part of the two for most people. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. I hope it's shone a light on a lot of things that maybe you were unclear of. As I said countless times throughout the video, if you haven't calculated your calories already, please click the link below. If you're struggling for ideas and you need a little bit of inspiration and coaching when you're working out at home, get my free home workout survival guide below. And then also, I'd love if you could join me tomorrow when I'm going to talk you through a nutrition pyramid that I've developed, and it's going to help you prioritize what you need to get the best results you've ever got. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.